So, as Rob said, and as we talked about previously, at the annual retreat for the council, which happens prior to this meeting, it's kind of the start of the annual planning. Typically what we do is lay out what are our initiatives and imperatives for the upcoming year. And maybe there's a couple things to notice on this chart, or on this page. One of the things is that it does not say 2019. This is the year 2019, and it says 2020. We're looking at 2020 and beyond. This council and this congregation is very, very good at laying out objectives and meeting those objectives in the relatively short term. In my experience since being on council, starting back in 2015 or 14, I don't even remember which one now, I believe 2014. One thing that I tried to do that we all tried to do was really push the amount of time, really push out in terms of what are we thinking of in terms of planning for the church, visioning for the church, trying to understand both where we want to go and what our limitations are. Both of those two aspects are very important when trying to do this. We can all vision that the whole congregation should go on a cruise together, but that's probably not going to happen. I hate to break it. Maybe that'll leave some concerns too. So, for Vision 2020, as I said, the things, as we started to vision out a plan, we asked ourselves, what are a few things that are important to us and really are foundational, when putting that together. And thinking about this. And the first thing is we want to make sure that we're using the church resources the right way. And that goes for the staff, the building, and our budget. And the people, kind of the talents and passions of the people that are in this room and that are connected to this congregation in a meaningful way. We want to keep the church vibrant and sustainable. So this is not a short-term type of operation for anyone that's here. And we want to make sure that it enables strong connections and helps establish relationships. So as a community of faith, these are some of the things that are very important for us when thinking about long-term planning and building out that long-term plan. So, so some of the things that to put together that plan, as I said, we want to be able to change is happening. We've kind of already touched on it a little bit at the beginning of the meeting. And we really want to take the opportunity of putting together a plan of being out in front of that change and using that as an opportunity to define the way that we want to go instead of letting decisions being made for us. And part of that is, one of the things with that is recognizing short-term realities that are apparent. So the rest of this slide is going to talk about 2019 and what we're going to be doing in order to put together that plan this year, so that by the end of the year we'll have a much better map of where we want to go in 2020 and beyond. Hence, Vision 2020 and beyond. So I'm going to hand it off to our pastors, and then I'll take the last little bit on this slide before transitioning on to the next topic.
So as we look at moving into the future, one of the things that we realize that we need to do is look at our staffing model. And our staffing model has been fairly fluid throughout the years that I've been here. We had to cut way back when I first started because of financial realities, and as we get a little stronger financially, we're able to add an intern, we're able to hire the intern, we're able to begin searching for a second pastor who came in at part-time and moved to full-time. So you see it's been fluid all the way along, and now some other changes are coming along, and this is not anything that's coming out of the blue. I'm thinking when we first started talking about this was probably 2015 as I was beginning to develop my proposal for a sabbatical. I remember Pastor Amber and I talked about it, that one of the secondary aims of the sabbatical would be for me to kind of test out what would it be like to maybe do something a little different for a while, and also for Pastor Amber, what would it be like to be the lead pastor for the months that I would be away. And so we did that, and And things went well during the 2 months that I was gone. And we've had various conversations with our pastoral support teams along the way and with synod staff members. And one of the things we wanted to do is move away from the senior pastor, associate pastor model. Again, we have a fluid staffing model here. We thought it'd be healthier at this point to move to kind of a co-pastor. And you may have noticed about 2 years ago, we stopped using the titles. When I introduce myself, I say I'm one of the pastors here at Prince of Peace. Pastor Amber does likewise. We do this knowing that, I'm not going to be here forever, and so we wanted to have a smooth succession. We've seen in so many congregations where there has been a change in staffing, it creates all kinds of disruption. We really want to avoid that if at all possible. And so it went along, and we talked about change, we talked about evolving the roles, and it seemed like very little happened beyond dropping the titles. And so if you read my report, it says in my 2017 annual prayer retreat / deer hunting expedition, one of the things I did while I was sitting up in tree stand for hours on end was pray about what does the future hold for staffing at Prince of Peace, and what does the future hold for me in my pastoral role. And I came away from that time up in the tree stand many days with a pretty strong perception that something needed to happen towards the beginning of this year. And in fact, I even had a date which seemed to come to my mind was the end of February of 2019. And so when I came back, I can't remember if we already had the staff transition team at that point or not, but I came back and I said, I have a solid thing I want to present. And, we need to convene. And so the staff transition team, Bill Quinto, Robin Dom, and Matt Peterson, we're on the staff transition team. And I gave them my timeline. I said, I need something different beginning at the end of February this year. Well, it came back, it got massaged a little bit along the way. We had several different plans we looked at, and we agreed on this, that the healthiest thing we can do for me and my family and for the congregation is beginning April 1st, that I would go to 2/3 time, and with the intention that you see me less on Sundays. It's one of the ways to be actually honest. It's easy to say 2/3 time, and then you end up working full time and getting paid 2/3. So part of the way to keep it relatively honest is I'm going to be gone a significant number of Sundays. A lot of them, I have another congregation I serve in Rensselaer County. My plan is to be with them at least one Sunday a month. Now, during that time, by me not being here every Sunday, I think it helps the congregation see Pastor Amber as lead pastor going towards the future. And so this time of 2019 would be a time where we as a congregation, so that's what I'm doing. Pastor Amber is going to talk about what she's going to be doing and her thoughts, but also it opens up what are we all doing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that because you have a task through this as well. So I think at this point, I'll turn it over to Pastor Amber.
So this shift, I just want to make sure I'm not standing in front of that. So this shift in things is an opportunity for everybody, and that's sort of how we've talked about it. It's an opportunity for Pastor Jeff and his family to make some changes in how they do things. It's an opportunity for me for many reasons. It gives me the opportunity to do some of the things that the longest tenured pastor usually does. It allows me to get to know all of you in a different and better way. And it's an opportunity for all of you and for us as a congregation, because it's going to require a different way of thinking in some ways. It's going to require us to think about how else do we make things happen besides what Pastor Jeff and I focus on all the time. A very good example of us starting to do that, and we do have some ministries that do it really well already, but one of the things I noticed this past year that happened really well is the trip that the choir took to Carnegie Hall. Pastor Jeff and I were supportive of that, but neither one of us really led the charge. The choir took care of that themselves, and it was a wonderful opportunity for people to step up and take responsibility for little parts of that trip and make it happen. And so we are fully capable of that, and this is an opportunity for us to really take hold of that and move forward with it in that way. It does affect a little bit some of what I do, and I just want to sort of give you that heads up. My focus has to shift a little bit if Pastor Jeff is going to be gone on Sunday mornings. It means my focus is going to be on worship and taking care of that, as well as shifting a little bit how we function when it comes to pastoral care and how we coordinate some of that. Pastor Jeff has done most of that in the past, but it will be a shift where I will take on some more of that responsibility as well. And I'm also going to take on some of the responsibility for some of our stewardship planning as we get to the fall. That doesn't mean I'm going to give up the things that I do best, but it does mean that may shift how those things happen. And so there may be certain things that I have done in the past that we'll be looking for other people to do. My hope is that I won't have to give up things like the youth or the education ministry and the ways that I interact with those ministries, but I may have to shift how that happens. So we're going to spend this year trying to figure out how that works and what works best for all of us together. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about being a part of this new way of thinking for us as a congregation. I'm excited to see where we end up and how we get there. So I hope you're excited about it too.
Thank you. All right, I voted for the 2/3 pay full-time pastor model. I'm sure everyone else. That was soundly rejected. Say by who? All right.
November, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'll talk a little bit about what you all will be involved in this year, hopefully. I guess there's two things. One is the 2019 budget reflects these changes. That's one thing that goes into that. There are other sort of structural changes or long-term changes within this congregation that impact that budget as well. And that is kind of alludes to the recognizing the short-term limitations that we have. So this is one thing where it's an opportunity. A couple things are kind of merging that's helpful, but it's not entirely, it doesn't make everything kind of entirely whole on that. And so the other thing is long-term planning. So there is a long-term planning Vision 2020 team that is being formulated. I'm a member of that team. You'll be hearing more about that in the soon-to-be coming weeks. Should be able to see things in FaithWorks and in the congregational announcements about who exactly will be members and what type of events will be put out there in order to really get feedback, input, take the temperature of the congregation about what are our priorities going forward on that and how will that inform our staffing models in the long term. So what I would ask of all of you is be proactive, communicate to council members, communicate to the Vision 2020 team, engage in any events that you see coming through in announcements in order to kind of aggregate all of our voices together into one and figure out kind of the best long-term path forward for the congregation that again kind of is true to all these all these tenets that I'm listing up here. Okay, that's all I have to say on this part. The next part, we're going to transition right into the budget and